Hello, everyone, and welcome to the GA4 checklist video, which is going to show you basically how to a walkthrough on how to install Google Analytics 4 or GA4 on your website. Um, so I'm going to take this as like a really informal type of video, really just to take through and try to divert a little bit of the time as well to kind of talk about different settings and different things. And as I'm going, is to obviously try to give some explanation, but also really just to um, help anybody that's been struggling with GA4 implementation, or they haven't got round to it yet, or they're putting it off because they think that it's going to be like really complicated, or, and they're basically just putting it off if they haven't had time to do it. First things first, it's really really simple to set up, and it shouldn't take too long at all, really, for most websites. um, a lot of the confusion, it comes when you're dealing with much bigger websites, or websites that have kind of huge traffic numbers and kind of intricate setups with different types of integrations and things like that. But actually, for the majority of websites out there, GA4 is nothing to be worried about. It's just a transfer over to a new analytic platform, really. Focused on that, we should really try to think about GA4 as just as its own separate thing, really. So pretend that it's a completely new analytics platform. It just helps kind of it helps with obviously how to process it. Is that we're not really moving and migrating and kind of improving or updating our existing Google Analytics. We're actually moving to a completely new analytic platform. Along with that are loads of different changes in terms of like how certain metrics are measured and how data is kind of collected, all of these things. But those types of things are not necessarily important to learn now, really. The main thing is that we just need to be in a position where we're actually collecting data with GA4. Just to go over, some of the dates which everybody should already be aware of because you're here, is that Google Analytics 4 will be the main source for your analytics, or the main kind of, there'll be basically for your data that's on your website. GA4 will be the one that we'll be using from the 1st of July. On the 1st of July, Universal Analytics, so the current, most people will be using Universal Analytics, will be used to that particular Google Analytics version. That will stop processing data from the 1st of July 2023. So it will no longer collect new data. So you need to have GA4 on your website before that date, just to make sure that you don't have a period where you are not collecting any data. Now, ideally, you would have implemented GA4, last summer or even before that, so that you would have a lot of retrospective data going back last year to look back on. But even so, if not, it's not the end of the world. We will be in a position where you will be able to obviously reflect and look back at Universal Analytics data for a limited time, but you will still have access to that data. Now, I have heard, I'm not sure how true it is. I'm not sure, how long. Google themselves don't really give a specific date about when Universal Analytics is going away, but it says that we will have those. That date, will be published, and we will be made known of that date when it kind of becomes published by Google. However, I have heard that within probably about 6 months, so probably towards the end of 2023, December 2023, we can expect to hear at least an announcement of when it's going to be kind of inaccessible, and also when that data eventually is just going to be deleted by Google. Anyway, no more kind of fear mongering, or no more getting worried and worked up about these things. Basically, Google has a track record of this. It introduces something new and people get worried about it, but then once it's been adopted and once people have used it for a couple of weeks, you forget what the old platform looked like anyway, right? The last one I can remember that was like a big deal was when Google Ads changed its like, the core features of its interface, and everyone was like, "Oh, I hate the new Google Ads." But you just get used to it. Within a couple of weeks, you have to use it, you have to make use of it, and you have to kind of relearn. And that's just a part of what makes digital marketing great, right? Is that you get to kind of learn lots of new things quite often, because you have to stay on top of like an increasingly changing industry as more and more kind of technology becomes available to us. Anyway, without further ado, I spent like a good a few minutes now just kind of giving the introduction. But what we're going to do today is focus on this GA4 checklist, which I've put together. We put together here for anybody that needs some kind of structure to understand exactly what they should be looking at when they're kind of approaching GA4. And this checklist has been broken down into two stages. So stage one takes us up to connecting the UA property with GA4, whereas stage two takes us through, conversion tracking and creating audiences and things like that. Now, what I'm going to focus on today is stage one. So we're going to go through creating the property, GA4 property, installing GA4 on the website, confirming the data settings and things like that, switching on Google Signals and connecting the UA property with GA4. Amongst those things, I'll be going, explaining a bit more about each of them individually, and certain settings are part of those. But the idea of this checklist is that it simplifies that process and that roadmap, and it kind of keeps it really simple. These are basically the kind of the tick off points that you just need to get done on your, a checklist. Basically, is you just need to get these things done, and then you're all set up and ready for the switch over when GA4 becomes the main platform. So to kind of dive in, we're going to be working with this website, which is the demo website that we have. I've got to kind of basically just demo things on and whatever else. And the analytics that we have at the moment, you can see that I've got a universal analytics account set up for that website. So most people will be in this position. Now, this one doesn't have any data because I only just set it up and just have like just for the purpose of this demonstration, really. But you will most likely see all of your data here. This is your universal analytics account where you come to for understanding the behavior that's been taken on your website, looking at your conversions and your goal tracking, and maybe in e-commerce as well, you'd be looking at your kind of e-commerce data in Google Analytics. All of these things that we know and are familiar with the universal analytics. That's what you'll see, and this is what you'll be like. So most likely you'll be in a position where you'll be here and you're getting the notifications at the top about switching over to GA4. You may have already set up a property, but in this case we're just going to go through that whole process of setting up a new GA4 property, and I'm just going to take you through that step by step. So first thing we need to do, I'm just going to move myself over here. So first thing that we'll need to do is that at the moment we are in that My Fake Shop. So that's the website. We're in our Universal Analytics property. So we need to go to the admin section. And what we will find is that the really helpful tool actually that Google's provided us is the GA4 Setup Assistant. And it's actually, pretty decent tool. It guides us through the setup. And it gives us some good advice, and it kind of gives us good, step by step. So this is what we're going to need: GA4 Setup Assistant. So you can get started here, and you can click through and go through that Setup Assistant. One of the things that you might have seen as well is that Google did send an email out about this, but they've got an option here to automatically set up a basic GA4 property for you. And that's debatable whether that's going to be a good thing or not. But what I would suggest is actually that if you're doing it now, you don't need Google to do that for you. So we're going to do it now ourselves, right? We don't want Google to automatically set this up for us. So you can either click on the Get Started, or you can actually go to Create Property here as well. So if you went to Create Property here, you go to the Create Property kind of wizard, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, which takes you through the step-by-step process of creating that property. Let's just go back to the admin panel, or you can click on the GA4 Setup Assistant and Get Started, right? And we can create and continue. And that probably will take us to exactly the same place, or it'll take it different. Okay, I'm not going to do it this way. I'm going to go for, okay, that's connected it for us, has it? Let's have a look. Okay, so that has connected it, set it up for us. So that's just created one straight away. Okay. Okay, right. So it just created this one straight away. So now we have this, but which is the same thing as like, so even if you were creating a property here, let's just say, let's just do it this way as well. So GA4, my fake shop. Just going to put number 2 here, just so we know that it's this one that we've set it up differently. Click next. Business details. This is where you select in. So we're a shopping shopping website. We've got more employees, business objectives. Well, drive online sales. So you'd be setting this up of whatever is relevant to your business. And then this is where you set up your data stream, I believe. So you'll be the web. So this is my first time using this actually, because they've actually changed that setup assistant as well, or this setup way of setting up a property. So that's my first time actually using that one as well. So yeah, this is where you set up your data stream. So we'll need the website address, which we could just take from over here and paste it in. And we can my fake shop web. One of the things that you've got the option to have is the enhanced measurements. So I recommend that you kind of keep this tick. So what this does is will give you, it basically sets up GA4 to automatically measure certain interactions and kind of content and events that it recognizes. So if you automatically measure these, then you can just set them up automatically. If you turn this off, then you'd have to set them up manually or at a later date. So usually it's best just to keep this ticked and you'll get all of these events that get measured. So you create that stream. And this is where you come to the stream details page. So I'm going to close that one. So this is the one where you'll find your measurement ID. And my recommendation for how to set up GA4 is through Google Tag Manager. However, you don't have to set it up through Google Tag Manager. It's just that Google Tag Manager and GA4 are going to work quite nicely together. So it's always good to kind of, set it up through GTM Tag Manager. The other option that you do have is to kind of install that code manually, which is also fine. And you can also combine that with using Tag Manager if you want to. So what we're going to do here is take this measurement ID. I'm going to copy it. And if you've got a Google Tag Manager account and it's correctly implemented on your website, if not, we do have a video on how to do that, which I will leave in the description, or you can go to our blog and find it that way. But you need to open up your Google Tag Manager account for your website. So in this instance, I've got my Tag Manager account for my fake shop. And I'm simply going to create a new tag. And I'm going to call this GA4, and it's going to be all pages. So it's going to be firing on all pages. This is going to be my kind of base tracking. So this is, I can even just call it tracking or base tracking or whatever you want to call it. Just try and stick to a naming convention that you understand and that isn't confusing. And then if you click on tag configuration, the featured tag types will have GA4 configuration, and you just need to click that. And then that measurement ID, you just paste in there. So paste in there. You don't need to worry about any additional settings at this stage. The triggering will be all pages. Okay, so you have this all pages trigger already. So you're triggering this to fire on GA4 to fire on all of the pages across your website and save. You can go ahead and submit that straight away. We don't need to test that. I'll preview that in the debug tool because it's pretty simple and easy setup. And it's just best just to call it a name. So I've got GA4 install or whatever else you want to call it. Publish that. Okay, so now we've installed that onto our website. So that should be all good. We've published that version of the container. So all those changes should be live on our site now. That's how to install it with Google Tag Manager. Now, if you don't want to install it with Google Tag Manager, then on your data stream settings page, or what this is, or when you get to this stage in your setup and you've got this page open, you'll need to go down to view tag instructions. And if you go down to view tag instructions, you'll get this window that we previously closed. We'll open that up again. If you install manually, select that option, then you'll get the code that you need to implement into the head of your website. So into the header tag of your website that will fire it on every page of your website. So if you copy that will be copied to your clipboard. So in this instance, my fake shop is on WordPress. So on WordPress in the back end, you would go down to, let me see where it is again, theme file editor, I believe. And with WordPress, it's always a good idea to have a child theme in place as well. So you're kind of making changes to a child theme. Anyway, you go to your functions PHP. Header PHP. And in the header PHP file, you would find, scroll down, go to your header PHP file, and then you would find the head tag. And in the head tag, you will find the open head tag and the close head tag. And that's where that code has got to be pasted, right? So as high as possible, I would say. So paste it in. Then you've pasted that code, and then you just update that file. So you'd update that file, save it, and that's how you'd manually install it. And that's for WordPress, but you can do exactly the same with any other CMS or any other kind of e-commerce. Pretty sure that Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, any of these types of these types of websites will give you the ability to implement code into the head tag of your website. So all you need to do is just copy and paste that code in there. In this case, we're not going to do it like that. If I did publish that, then I'd have two sets of implementation of that. So we can just come out of there, and I'll go back to my dashboard. But just to show you how you would implement that if you needed to. Anyway, so let's go back a couple of steps. We have implemented the GA4 code with Google Tag Manager, and what we should be seeing now is data to our site. Now, if we wanted to, we can check that. Now, sometimes it doesn't always go live straight away, I've found recently, and it might not for the purpose of this video, or it will. Yes, it has, right. Okay, great. So here we can see, if you have something like Google Tag Assistant Legacy, as it's now called, this is something that can be used to check if a tag is firing, a Google tag is firing on your website. So it's a really good. I think I've got a video actually, which I'll put in the description as well, about how to install Google Tag Assistant. It's now called Google Tag Assistant Legacy, but it's the same thing, and you can install it and you can quickly check which tags you have installed on your website, and it will give you a notification, basically an idea of whether it's installed correctly or not. Anyway, this is finding that. Good thing to do actually is to check like different pages as well and make sure that it's firing on all pages, which it looks like it is. So we're all good on that front. So just to go back over to the checklist now, we've created a GA4 property. We've installed GA4 on the website. So actually we can tick these off. We're all good. Confirm your data settings. Now, this is where we just have to do a little bit of, kind of more, I guess the scary things that people get worried and scared about, right? But actually they're really simple, and they do make sense once you actually understand what we're doing and why we're doing them. So let's just say, right, we're happy with this and come out, and let's just finish this process, right? So we're all happy with this. Data collection is pending until it obviously starts to receive that information, right? Google will give us it can actually look. Google GA4 is actually seeing that it's already finding a hit on our site, so that's really good news. So I've now got this GA4, which we created through that setup assistant. But this is the GA4 I'm going to use that we've gone through. But either way, you should only have one, depending on which method you do it. And on the admin section, oh, I think this is one of people's bugbears at the moment with GA4 is that it's not always doing what it should do, because there's still a couple of bugs that are getting ironed out, shall we say. So one of the main things you'll notice with GA4 is that it doesn't have a view, right? So you've only got these two panels. So there's no views. Instead, we've got data streams. So this is the thing that we're going to be using. So there's not views anymore. There's going to be data streams, and the data streams will be the different things that you have, right? And the different the idea is obviously you have different data streams from different sources, like say from your from your apps and from your website, okay? And then you won't have the ability to use views anymore. It's just something that's being kind of decommissioned, I guess, is not being kind of pursued and carried on. So in this section, we're going to be talking about data settings, and this is really important because this is one of the key features really of setting up the account, is going to the data settings and making sure that you've got the correct data settings. So first of all, we're going to be looking at data collection. Now, with data collection in this section, you will find Google Signals, okay? And people ignore a lot of the things when they see this big load of text and they just see, they just ignore it. But actually, because there's not like just a quick switch on button, but actually you need to click on this. And Google Signals, the best way to describe it, that's a whole separate different, I guess, piece of, maybe even a whole separate video. But this Google Signals data collection feature with Google Signals, it enables like a better, basically cross-device tracking, and it enables Google for remarketing, but it enables Google to be able to collect more data. So it's especially for when users have advertising features, advertising turned on, personalized advertising turned on. But we won't go into too much detail with it. But in general, this is particularly if you're going to be doing digital marketing and you're going to be using Google Ads, and you need to have Google Signals turned on. And all you have to do is click on that Get Started. You'll have this page come up. Click Continue. Activate. And then it's on, and then you're opted in to now you basically turn Google Signals on, right? So Google Signals become more and more important as GA4 is developed, and how, especially when cookieless browsing becomes kind of commonplace. So once you've got Google Signals turned on, then if you scroll down, you'll see user data collection acknowledgement as well. So that's just something that you have to acknowledge just on Google side, really, just to obviously comply with the regulations and things. So if you click on the blue button, I acknowledge, and that will all be acknowledged. So that will actually allow data collection. Right. The next part is data retention. Now, this is one of the really important things, is that in the past, you used to be able to kind of keep data and have, data look back kind of indefinitely if you wanted. I think there was a setting that was like, doesn't expire or something like that. With GA4, that's no longer the case. You have two choices, 2 months or 14 months that Google or GA4 will keep your data for. Everybody's going to go through and set up their GA4 accounts, but they're going to forget about this particular setting, and they're going to wonder why they can't see a look back of more than 2 months. So you need to make sure that you go to the maximum, which is 14 months. So that just gives you just over a year's worth of data that you can look back. So it will keep you on your toes, because any year-on-year analysis that you do has got to be done at that point where you might have like a 2-month window to do a year-on-year analysis on, say, like, Christmas seasonal periods or something like that. But that's one main setting that you need to do, is to change that over to 14 months, not 2 months, because then that will give you a longer data retention. So you'll be able to see obviously more retrospective data. Save that. Make sure you save it. And then one of the other things which I think is quite important as well is just to consider in the data streams section, click on your actual website data stream. And in here, we'll bring up this data stream settings page again. But in here, we're going to be going to tag settings. And then, okay, right. So show all. So in your tag settings, so let's do that again, just so we're aware. We've gone to the data streams. We've clicked on our website data streams, and then we're going to configure tag settings. And then in configure tag settings, you have to go down to the settings section and show all. And then in here, you've got session timeout. So just as a recap here, in general, going back over to this, in GA4, an engaged session is a session that has lasted longer than 10 seconds, triggered a conversion event, or a user has viewed 2 or more pages. That's an engaged session. Now, one of the key ones here is the time. So with a session being quite sometimes a lot time-based. Now this has changed in comparison to UA as well. So this is for GA4. So this is the new definition of an engaged session for GA4, and it's somewhat improved compared to GA3 because it recognizes universal analytics, because it recognizes that an engaged session can be someone who just comes to your blog and is reading, whereas UA doesn't really account for that as much unless you set up specific event goals or specific goals or conversions, whatever you want to call them. So to adjust this is that we can actually adjust this in GA4. So if you wanted to adjust the time and the length and the time of sessions, you can in GA4. So as we said, we go from, I'll do that again, data streams. We go from data streams to click on the website. We click on configure tag settings. We go from tag settings down to settings here, which show all. And then here we've got adjust session timeout. Now, here, the session timeout of when someone's inactive, right? So that will just stop. It'll just ignore it. So if someone leaves their browser open, they go and make a coffee, and then they forget about what they were doing, and 30 minutes passes, that's a session timeout, right? So that's when GA4 will stop counting that session as a session. If they re-engage again at a later date, that would be classed as a new session. So you can actually adjust that time limit. I'm not sure what the maximum is. So 7 hours and I guess 55 minutes. I think for session timeout, I think 30 minutes is probably about right as a default. You can reduce that if you want. You can increase it. That's your preference. The more kind of one that I'm quite keen about, or one that I'd like draw people's attention to really, is that the actual timer for engaged sessions. Now, 10 seconds is the minimum, okay, and it'll be the default across GA4, but you can actually increase that up to 60 seconds, right? So basically, for it to be an engaged session, at the moment, it has to have lasted longer than 10 seconds. But you can adjust that. So for an engaged session, it has to have lasted longer than, say, 30 seconds, right? So if you've got a website that has very kind of long form content and people come and they do a lot of reading and not much browsing, right? You might want to adjust this. But just to let you know that option is there. Now, you've obviously got to think about, it's really important to do this when you're first setting up your GA4 property. If you've been collecting data for a long time and you've already got lots of data, it's not advisable to kind of go in and change this, because then you'll start to see your session data. It'll have a big impact on how it, basically you'll just start to see like a big change and spike in your data in terms of, or reduction in your data, depending on how your adjust, what the timer is for your engaged sessions. So only change this if you're setting up GA4 from the beginning. It's not advisable to change this when you've already been collecting data or at a later date. It's best probably just to leave it as it is. Okay, so let's go back onto our checklist and see where we're at. And we have confirmed our data settings. We've switched on Google Signals, and the only thing that we've got left to do is actually connect our UA property with GA4. So finally, if we go back now to our main admin panel, to connect our UA property, we can, and Google has like an automated kind of pop-up at the moment that or a window or a page that kind of shows on your analytics to kind of get you to do this automatically. Sorry, to prompt you to do this as you kind of enter Google Analytics at the moment. But if you've ignored that and you need to do that now, then you basically go back to your Universal Analytics property. And then in your Universal Analytics property, you need to go back to your GA Setup Assistant. And then in here, you will have the option, I'll just disconnect that one. You will have the option to connect your GA4 property, okay? So I'm going to connect the second one that we made, the one that we made through, this icon here, and connect properties. And then once I've connected, the benefit of connecting them is that it will allow you to share certain information between them that is able to be shared, basically. So sometimes like user permissions, there's certain, like, I think you can share conversions and audiences and things like that. It sounds better than it is in practice, if I'm honest, at this point in time. I'll just give you a quick example. Is if we actually go back over to GA4, if you've got, let's just think, is it, oh, put it on now. Right, so if setup assistant, like let's just say you were going over to, on the property settings, let's say you were going to setting up conversions. If you click on actions, you'll have a little option that pops up here that says import from UA or something like that. Same with audiences. There you go, like you'll get that option, right? Some of these are easy to do, like with conversions. If you have any conversions that it can import over, you can actually import them, and it will. But I'd always check them to make sure that they're actually accurate, because we can never trust Google totally to do an accurate migration and automate things perfectly. But with define audiences, for example, look, if we've got audiences, if you want to import it, it's not as simple as just clicking a button. It'll actually open a new window and will give you the instructions of how you can actually do that migration through Google Sheets. If that's really important to you, then go for it. But actually, it might be easier and quicker to just set them up again in GA4. So there's things like that, as well as other benefits of linking the properties. But that brings us to the end of stage one, which in stage two, we'll be looking at how to set up conversion tracking. We'll be looking at how to add referral exclusions and create audiences, as well as linking Google Search Console to GA4 and linking Google Ads to GA4. So I hope that was helpful. I know obviously it was very detailed and a lot longer than I like to usually do these videos, but hopefully it gives you more of an idea of, of a walkthrough and kind of like a step-by-step basis, and more of a detailed idea actually that, it's actually not that difficult to get set up, and you don't have to be too worried about all of these settings and things. So we got that one done. So stage one complete, and stay tuned for stage two, where we'll be setting up conversion tracking and everything else. Great stuff. Thanks for your time.